that we've ever had for an HRC Fed Club event. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll tell you, it's a whole different group of people, and I'm glad that you're here to learn about Fed Club. This is our first Fed Club event for 2017. We'll have another one in March, on March 17th in Lake Nona. And I want to thank our host, Edwin, and his husband, Keith, for opening up their home to all of us. Thank you. I also want to thank our co-host, Andy Green and Andres Garcia. And I want to thank Jamie McFadden, owner of Cuisinarts Catering, who has donated the food for this evening. It's free. So if you need a caterer, call me. And I also want to thank all the volunteers for HRC, Fed Club, and our Orlando organization for putting up with me, because I can be a little tiring. Okay. It's a pleasure this evening to introduce a very extraordinary young lady. Her name is Gabby HRC. I was told about her activism by her grandfather, Mr. Scott Carter. Does everybody know Scott?
Okay.
What I'm most amazed about is that she has taken on our fight while in high school, something that I would have never done. Gabby went to Parkwood High School in North Carolina. Her activism started in 2014 with a movement against hatred and bullying. It was called the Day of Silence. It was an event where students were silent for the entire day to bring attention to those issues. Gabby has also been an activist for LGBTQ community. In high school, she was honored with, quote, most likely to bring up the gays in class discussions. Always campaigning for safe and inclusive school climates for all students has been her dream. She has been written up about her work in 4 publications and is now helping her fellow students at the University of North Carolina. She has also become very good friends of Jim Obergefell, who was our plaintiff in the fight for marriage equality. Please welcome Ms. Gabby HRC.
Thank you for that introduction and for the opportunity to be here. This is a great honor, and I'm just really excited to be a part of this. I'm a millennial and very classy, so I'm definitely going to look at my phone. Okay, so I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I got involved in the work that I've been doing since my sophomore year, and then talk some about the HRC and how they contribute to that work and how the HRC's work, how much it means to me. 2 years ago, on February 26th, a date which is interminably etched in my memory, a student named Ash Hafner took their own life at a spot not 10 minutes from where I went to high school. I had never met Ash. I barely knew Ash existed. They were a 16-year-old attending Porter Ridge, which was one of my high school's rivals. Just a high schooler, a real person, with a mom and a little sister. They did original acoustic songs on YouTube. They danced around making fun of their mom's music. They went as Miley Cyrus for Halloween. They liked to put funny Tumblr screenshots on their Instagram. And then, just like that, they didn't anymore. They said they didn't want to be remembered as the faggot gay girl with scars on her arm. I was a junior at the time, 2 months before my second day of silence. I had just started that year's preparations, drafting flyers and starting to reach out to other high schools in the county. My carefully scripted spiel had been broken out for the first time of the year that morning as I spoke with a reporter. The Day of Silence is an anti-bullying, anti-hate event designed to demonstrate support for anyone being harassed because of their actual or perceived sexual preference, identity, or expression, and a day of remembrance and reflection of victims. The silence of participants would emulate that of those who had been silenced by the attitudes of their peers or suicide. I hadn't really known anything about suicide until that headline, though the attitudes of my peers I knew all too well. Adam and Steve denouncing bumper stickers are dispersed artfully across the backs of faded Fords in the parking lot of my Anytown, USA Bible Belt High School. A classmate once asserted that he would put an axe through the TV before he would let his kids see two men holding hands on TV. I remember how heavy and absolute his words were in the stale air of the dingy linoleum classroom, the way my breath flew out of my lungs and my entire body stung and a fervent need to speak overcame me. That was really how it all started, fighting past a lump in my throat to stammer out my grandfather's story as a gay man growing up closeted, when fag could be a death sentence and they tested for AIDS wearing a full hazmat suit. To this day, while still impossibly strong and kind, he's marred by the pain of those years. My papa is a chiaroscuro, a stunning play of light and shadow, and through my activism, I try and raise my voice against the hate that put those shadows there. The hate that made this world a place Ash Hafner couldn't live in. The hate that brings my classmates to cough queer after me in the hallways. This motivation, while strong, doesn't have a very specific direction. So in the days since that first rise to action, I found myself striving to create change in a wide variety of ways. I lobbied for LGBT plus specific protections in my school's anti-bullying policies, for example. I worked as an intern for a youth safe space. I spent a summer founding a youth initiative for Charlotte Pride. And now that I'm in college, I work as a research assistant for a professor studying out LGBT plus politicians around the world. But the very first thing I did was become a member of the HRC. Every victory in the LGBT movement that I, of course, read about independently, because that wasn't covered in history class, seemed to involve the HRC in some way, ranging from National Coming Out Day in 1993 to Obergefell versus Hodges just last year. I think the HRC is unique in that it has the clout and the presidential endorsement that comes with being the most widely recognized LGBT plus nonprofit in the US, but it also puts due emphasis on grassroots efforts. I've seen this firsthand, from the summer I spent film banking and go to door fighting HB2 with one of their offshoot organizations, to discussions I've had with Jimmy Obergefell about the HRC's influence in shaping the historical court case. It sounds horribly cheap and name-droppy, I know, but Anthony asked me to describe my relationship with Mr. Obergefell, who was the named plaintiff in the Supreme Court case that legalized gay marriage. We first met at an HRC event in Charlotte just a few weeks after the oral arguments. I was able to tell him how much his fight and his story meant to me. And we started emailing back and forth. We exchanged a few letters, and we met a few more times at events in Charlotte and at UNC. At one point, we even had plans for the fledgling Gay Straight Alliance I'd started at my high school to travel to a gala he was attending and meet him. But that was shut down by my school's administration, because I'm from North Carolina. Actually, today's my 19th birthday, and he was the very first person. But Jim was the very first person to wish me a happy birthday on Facebook, so that was pretty cool. I know that all of this sounds really silly, but I mention it because I think it really encapsulates the way HRC operates. Getting people like Mr. Obergefell, who was just a Cincinnati real estate agent, to the Supreme Court. And getting people like me, then just a high school senior from Bible Belt hell, to connect with one of the most significant figures in the history of the LGBT movement. HRC brings together passionate people from all walks of life, showing up for equality in whatever way they can, whether that's long nights going door to door with petitions or simply donating, which, while maybe not quite as romantic, still contributes to and really makes possible everything the HRC does. I can't think of any other organization that combats all the myriad ways that hate manifests itself as comprehensively as the HRC.
You're here.
Now, she just told you she's 19 as of today, and what I would like for everyone here is to sing her happy birthday to her. Is that good?
Yes.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.